Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4 riders. Look at this, Gilson very quickly coming up onto the front, and she definitely doesn't want to let that pace drop. She knows that Marin has become an increasing danger over the last few months of 2022, but the distance between the race leaders at the moment, our Category 4 riders at 16 kilometres, and it's 8.5 kilometres for our Category 1 leaders. Then creates carnage in Category 1 and 2, and then it's what happens on that reform, that regroup, that is going to be critical. Will it be exclusively Category 1, or will there be, as we suspect, quite a number of Category 2 riders who make that mix? But look, there's a chase on its way, and it looks like Liliana Moreno is the rider who's kicking to come across. That's a massive sprint effort. Category 1 leaders are on the climb. Cavado starts to come up towards the front, but look at this, Brogan, Gilson, Bauer, very quickly right at the front of affairs. Ortiz is up there as well, and all of a sudden the yellow jerseys are starting to shed the green.
They have 1 kilometre to go now in this Category 1 race. 1 kilometre to catch our last 2 riders.
We have less than 150 metres to go. You've got to kick over the top, and you've got to put the power down. Who's going to have that kick? It looks to me like Ortiz is going to do this. Maria Ortiz makes it to the line.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today, and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are here for Qualifier Race number 2 on January the 8th, 2023. My name is Emma Martin, and I am looking forward to bringing you all of the action today. As we saw from the rewind last week, action is where it is at, and we are expecting some fast and furious racing today. We are on a different course today to last week for qualifier number 2. We are in Australia. We are on the Wollongong route. So today, 35 kilometres of racing with 503 metres of elevation, 2 Category 4 climbs for our women today. And those Category 4 climbs, 2.4 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 4.5%. But Mount Pleasant, it is named, but it has a small climb first. The gradient kicks to 9 to 10%. The riders will then descend to the main climb, where the gradient will see up to 17% under the wheels today. So Mount Pleasant twice on this route today, and then a run of 6.2 kilometres into the finish. 4 categories today in our race with 4 different race starts. We're starting today with our Category 4 riders, our riders in those red jerseys. So teams today in Category 4, 1 team, Fire Girls, represented by Geraldo and Gallego, but 17 riders on the start sheets today. So really strong riding. The riders from our December final and our qualifiers last week, our top 5s, are all in this race today. So we are on the start line with Ella Vink with seconds to go as the power goes down, and the riders are away for qualifier race number 2 in January 2023 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This pack are rolling, and they are rolling fast out of this start pen towards the flatlands before the climbing starts on this course today. So we're in with Agudelo as well as Tandingen, Leonor, Guzman, Koking, Diego. These riders rode hard and strong last week, as we saw Koking take the win last week from Agudelo, Tandingen, Vink and Hyde. All 5 riders in this race today, as we're seeing a little push down the road already, an early push with less than 500 metres ridden so far from Tandingen as she pushes down, but the rest of this group are still behind Tandingen, pushing on and wanting to make this a fast start today. Koking there with the group behind, a couple of seconds now back to the main pack, but Tandingen really clear. They want to make this a fast race today. Now, our Category 4 riders starting 5 minutes before our Category 3 riders, who are 5 minutes before our Category 2 riders, and 5 minutes before our Category 1 riders go. So 4 separate starts. These Category 4 riders will be the lead riders on the road until any catches are made by the chasing groups and the faster groups behind. So Koking has indeed joined Tandingen as the 1-2 on the road. 2 seconds back now to the chase group with all the main riders in that chase group. Ella Vink is in there, Carla Lenore is in there, Gallego is in there, Giraldo is in there. These are strong riders. Fernandon is in there as well. So the riders that we are expecting to see chasing, and chasing they are as they go across this bridge. This Category 4 race has already started to split. So Tandingen and Koking are pushing on at the front. We're starting to see the chase come behind as the riders start to close this gap as we come out of the flattest section of this course today, which is indeed the start of this lap and the start of this race, onto what is now the first climb of the day. It is only a short climb, but it does indeed cap to around 7%, and we're starting to see that as this group starts to get split up and an elite group of Category 4 riders start to form at the front. So Vink, Tandingen, part of that group, Fernanda, part of that group as well as Diego and Koking. And we're starting to see that Barco Ossa is in there as well. This group starting to move clear of the rest of that Category 4 pack. So back on the start line, you can see our Category 1, Category 2, Category 3 riders lined up with their start times on the banners in front of them. So Category 4 moving through now, and that pack and that race forming with Barco Ossa there. But Category 3 lined up with around 1 minute 30 seconds to go till race start. So Barco Ossa there in with Tandingen, Fernanda, Koking, Vink and Diego. So this group now clear of the group behind. So 6 riders now clear, forming a lead group in this Category 4 race with 5 seconds back to the chase riders. So fast and hard racing from our Category 4 riders early on this race today. So Tandingen, Vink, Diego, Fernanda, Koking. These riders, including Barco Ossa, are indeed the riders away. So 6 riders clear now in this Category 4 race, pushing hard to stay clear of what will be the chasing riders, the Category 3 riders about to take to the start line. So our Category 3 riders today, we have 1 team represented in Category 3 today, Climber Girls, represented by Ribaldo. So taking on those blue jerseys in our Category 3 race today. 11 riders on the start sheets today. So, and again, we see the riders who took the top 5 positions in our December final and indeed last week represented on this start line. So we're in with Adriana Barco as the clock ticks down for this Category 3 start, and these riders start to wind up the power as the go takes place, and our Category 3 riders are now on the racecourse. They come up to the junction and they take this corner as they move through and the pack starts to form. This is the flattest section of this course today in Australia. This Wollongong route is continually rolling with lots of short, steep sections, descents, and very little flat, along with those 2 Category 4 climbs. So this pack will need to work well together to stay together, and they are indeed doing so out of the gate today. So our Category 3 riders pushing on this flat section and working well, just shy of 40 kph as Illustra there pushes through at the head of this group with Quintero, Zabala, Barco. The riders we would expect to see in here, Cabanatan is in here as well, Giuliano is in here, Quintero is in here. You know, these are strong riders who regularly placing in the top 5 in this category. So they're coming towards the end of the flat section of this start now, and they will shortly be on to that first climb where we saw the category 4 groups start to split and smaller groups and attack go. Be interesting to see the tactics of this category 3 group, because this is a tight bunch. This is a tight group working together and working together very well. They are not spread across the road. They are a small group, a blob, a group, a peloton riding tightly together. So Quintero in here, just taking a look and just making sure, tapping enough on the pedals to stay in this group as they cross this bridge now. And shortly we'll be coming onto the steeper sections around the next bend. But Quintero, Barbaldo, Lopez, Zabala, these riders very comfortably sat in this group, tapping along, waiting to see what is going to happen on this climb. They'll travel over this bridge. They'll take the right-hand bend. They will, as they transition off of this bridge and onto the mainland, that is at the point where we will start to see that climb taking place. In fact, they can see it in front of them as we just shift to the category 4 race, because Koking and Tandigan have gone out hard again. They've attacked that group of 6 and you can see them just starting to stretch it behind. Tandigan and Koking want to go clear of Fernanda and the riders behind. There's only 6 riders in that group, but they are already stretching it out, putting a gap back. Fernanda is trying to go with them, and we are starting to see that happen. Barco Ossa is there as well. Some of these moves are being covered, but we're seeing the likes of Vink and Diego just get caught out there as Tandingen seems adamant to push this group and to make this a really fast race for these category 4 riders today. So the category 4 riders coming up to 5 kilometers nearly traveled. Back with our category 3 race, 1.7 kilometers traveled so far, as Capitan is pushing at the front here and is joined by another rider as well. We're seeing 2 riders go clear here in this category 3 race and pushing up that climb as well. That early climb on this course really does take some damage to these groups and really starts to stretch, and people show their intentions very, very early. So we can see category 4 is away, category 3 is away, and we have just over 1 minute until our category 2 riders are on the race course as well. So in those green jerseys today are our category 2 riders. We are seeing a group of 35 riders on the start line with 2 teams represented today. So Team Golden Light and Team RT Cycle Zone Ladies 1. These 2 teams with Olsen and Jadlock and Golden Light represented. The other riders, 20 riders on this start sheet today. Again, we're expecting a large number of very competitive riders and very competitive races. Sinelli is in here today. Pardini is in here. Sanchez is in here. Reynard, Gutierrez, Cerner, Olsen. Fast and furious racing. And interesting to see the tactics of these category 2 riders today. So as the seconds tick down, we are in with Angie Para, and the power goes down, and Para pushes 5 watts per kilo to get off that start line, and she is clear of that start line with the rest of those riders today. They go out clean and they go out clear as they take those sweeping corners to take them onto that flat section that allows this pack to form before we start to see that climb. So this pack clear of the start line today. So category 2 now underway on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are qualifier 2 for January in 2023. Angie Para in here, Montoya in here, De Gracia in here, Octiza in here. Good, strong riding from this pack. We've got one rider just slightly off the back of this group at the moment, yet actually moving through a little bit of a challenging start perhaps, but slowly coming back into this group and not panicking, which is exactly what you need to do. No panicking if you have a difficult start and you don't quite get away with the rest of the group. But now that catch has been made, in fact, Barragan is there. Barragan is the one who has had the difficult start, but pushing on and riding sensibly to make that catch back onto this group. So we are in with Gino De Gracia and Angie Parrott. This group is tight and it is riding well. One rider, just a couple of riders challenged off the back there, but it is a fast pace on this flat section. Riders around 30 kph at the moment as we take this sweeping left-hand bend. But most of the riders off the start line in this Category 2 race represented in this large group on the road at the moment. Not yet on that first climb of the day, where we have seen the other categories who have started earlier stretch the riders and start to make gaps in groups and attacks early. So Reynard is in here today. Jenny Sanchez is in here today. We've seen these riders ride in and hang tight with the Category 1 riders and push hard towards the finish. With the class of these Category 2 riders really strong and really fast. So expecting some fireworks from this group today, but a nice steady start going out of the start line as these riders cross this bridge and take this right-hand corner to see the first climb on this Wollongong course. So back in with our Category 3 riders. Ribaldo has indeed pushed hard and made a break away from this group today. So this is constantly rolling, this terrain on this Wollongong course. There is very little flat, lots of short, steep climbs, downhill sections, constantly changing gradients, as well as those Category 4 climbs. And Ribaldo has taken the initiative here and pushed away from the group. Currently on a climb of around 3.5%, Ribaldo tapping out a really nice pace, and a much higher pace than the group behind. So 10 seconds back now. Ribaldo is clear by 10 seconds in this Category 3 race. A little further down the road, we can see that front group of Category 4 riders now 7.35 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. Tandingen and Koking have not had it all their own way. They have not been allowed to go clear because Fernanda has been watching what has been going on, and so has Vink, and they have not allowed that group to go clear, that two to go clear. So a bigger group than wanted because Koking pushes on again in that Category 4 race. This is a really big attacking race in this Category 4 today. So Category 4, Category 3, Category 2 on the road. Category 1 sat waiting in the start pens 55 seconds until our Category 1 riders in those yellow jerseys go off of this start line today. So Category 1 today, teams, 2 teams riding today, Crank Sisters and Spartan Obstacles. Both with strong representatives, Garioni and Bauer for Crank Sisters, Fua and Brogan for Spartan Obstacles. 35 riders in total in that Category 1 race today on the start sheets. So a large field of riders and some good riders in there. Maria Marin has been riding very strongly recently. Oliveri took the win last week. Manshandi, Ortiz, Bardaskaya, Gilson, Menzies, as well as those team riders. Really strong field today. So away goes Category 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We're in with Menezes as the power goes down and this pack push round these bends through this start and into the flat sections of the Wollongong course. So Embring is in there, Ortiz is in there, Manshandi is in there, Menzies is in there, Bauer is in there as we push, and we can start to see already this fast start putting people under pressure out of that start banner, because this is actually a flat start that is allowing the pace of this peloton to be really high. We are up to 42 kph at the moment, and we are starting to see some damage as a group goes clear and gaps start to form in this category 1 race early. So Bauer has made the gap, Estrada has made the gap, Embring is in there. You can see that picture back down that road with the riders who have not made that peloton and not made that front group off that start line today. So Garioni is in there, Pablo is in there, Estrada, Brogan been riding really strongly over the last few weeks. Fua is in there, Giraldo is in there, Garioni is in there. These riders have made that selection early in this race already, and it is always that start where that first selection is made. So as our category 1 riders sweep round onto that bridge at the front of this race, we can start to see the gaps back. So the first set of gaps, Kanana is at 5 seconds, Higuita is at 15 seconds. So these riders, Lopez was just pinging off the back of that group, but she just pushed and closed that gap. And often that's one of the most important parts of the race. If you are hanging off the back of that group, putting in that dig, putting in that effort to get back on that pack and to not lose that group is one of the most important efforts often of the race, because staying with this group as long as possible will give you the best position that you can achieve in this race. So as the riders take this right-hand sweep onto this bridge to see that first climb of the day, we can take a look back and see where the rest of our riders are. Category 2 are indeed just shy of 3 kilometres up the road from this category 1 pack, 6.6 kilometres for the lead of the category 3 race and 9.6 kilometres for the category 4 race. In fact, the category 4 riders now starting in the foothills of Mount Pleasant, the first time up that category 4 climb today. So Vink now in second with Tandingen coking just up the road in terms of this category 4 race. They are on the foothills of Mount Pleasant. This is the first climb before they descend and then attack the main climb as Tandingen goes past coking. Vink is behind, Fernanda behind her. Those 4 riders are clear of the main peloton. In fact, there is over the peloton in this category 4 race has absolutely been decimated by the fast pace of Tandingen, Coking, Vink and Fernanda at the start of this race today. They've obviously decided it is going to be hard from the gun, and hard they are making it indeed as Tandingen pushes on up the first time up this climb. Coking is literally just behind. Vink and Fernanda a little bit further back now, 15, 20 seconds now between 1, 2, 3 and 4. We jump back in with our category 1 riders. They are still away from that first ascent of Mount Pleasant. They are in the main Wollongong city route and it is rolling. The first climb of the day has stretched the group but brought it all back together again. It is still a large group of category 1 riders in this lead group, and the main antagonists that we would expect to see later on in the latter stages of this race are still in here. Giraldo is in here, Fua is in here, Gilson is in here, Moreno is in here, Sanchez is here, Bauer is here. These are the riders we expect to see when we hit those climbs of Mount Pleasant. So this group rolling well and rolling fast. The kph here of this group rolling through the city is really high, very much around 40 kph at the moment. As we drop over into the category 2 race, the group is still together here and still a good strong group in this category 2 race. Now over 5.5 kilometers into this race, Reynard is in this group as the group is moving strongly. Fernanda is here, Octiza is here, Lantari is here, Sinelli is still in this group as well. These are the riders we would expect to see. Parrott is in here, Olsen, Pardini. these riders riding really strongly as a group and rolling through the city. In fact, Angie Parra just slightly off the front of that group. So Angie Parra has indeed pushed on, and Angie Parra is around 12 seconds clear of that pack. In fact, you can see the pack further down the road behind Parra as Parra pushes around 4 watts per kilo. And we've seen in the men's race and in the women's race recently the tactic of time trialing away from the pack. And Parra here seems to have found a pace and a cadence that is working for her, and she is pushing on now. And that pack behind just starting to respond. In fact, we're starting to see just over 4 watts per kilo from Reynard as this small climb allows a bit of a push on the pedals, and it may be an attempt to close that gap with Parra out there. But this group do not seem to be working very strongly together to bring Parra back at the moment. So Gilson in the category 1 race behind. Now about 2.5 kilometres between this category 1 and category 2 field. So Gilson just watching the back of this group. Strong riders in this group. In fact, we've seen Gilson attack and Gilson take that time trial effort to a finish line before successfully. But Gilson in this group now, just on the back of this group as we start to push through the city, and they start to see a bit of a push coming from this pack as Gilson needs to just tap on those pedals a little bit harder so she closes that gap and she doesn't get caught out. And it's difficult when these packs are large, because when these packs are large, you cannot see on the right hand side of your screen what all of your competitors are doing and where the attacks are coming from and where the pace is coming from. So being extra vigilant and actually keeping an eye on the racing is something that is really key with a large pack of riders, and much harder to do than if the group is smaller. So Gilson moving through there as we drop in with Manshandi towards the front of that pack, as that pack push on and roll through that city landscape. So nearly 5 kilometres now of the race done for our category 1 riders. We drop in to our lead rider on the road. And indeed, we go back to those category 4 riders and that category 4 race. So currently at 11.2 kilometres travelled. So nearly towards the top of Mount Pleasant for the first time of the ascent. Coking is our rider on the road in the lead, but Tandingen is following closely. So these two riders tried to light up the front of this category 4 race really early today. Coking and Tandingen hit the power really early and have been rewarded by being the 1-2 clear of the chasing riders behind Vink and Fernanda. So category 1 race here. There's a little bit of a push on the front, and we can see a stretch here that is pushing the front of this pack as it concertinas back together in Bauer and Manshandi on. So as Bauer and Manshandi push on, Menenzes is there, Oliveri too, Bardaskaya is moving through, and Embring. We're seeing this group come back together again as this category 1 group take this right hand corner on the road and are continuing to work and not stretch or break up as far as the other categories that we can see today. So category 2 riders are indeed breaking up because Angie Parra put a push on early on, and it looks as though she's about to get caught as that group behind with Olsen pushing on. Hard to bring back Parra in. Parra has been out on the front of this category 2 race for a few kilometres, but the group have now caught, and Parra has indeed going to actually have to kick hard to get back onto the back of that group as they snowballed over the top of her. So Parra now back in with that group as that category 2 group have caught and all come back together again. So that category 2 group are now around 1.5 kilometres from the base of Mount Pleasant. You can see in the right hand corner of your screen the graphic that gives you the terrain underneath the road, and you can see that climb is coming for this group of leading category 2 riders, where we would expect this group to be split apart a little. So a little bit further back down the road, our Category 1 riders are still riding through Wollongong City, and we're seeing a stretch come on the front of this group as Del Rocco and Oliveri are pushing on. Just a couple of seconds, but Bauer has been made to respond, and Fua is there as well. So a little bit of a response coming from behind because these two riders have just pushed on a little bit harder to stretch that group. So a lot of people testing the legs in this Category 1 group today, but it's a very big group and they will not want to take a group this size into the climb. So our 4 race categories are all out across this Wollongong course today. Our leaders on the road are Category 4 riders coming up for 12 kilometres, Koking and Tandingen. Our Category 3 riders at just over 10.5 kilometres are on the descent before they hit the main part of the Mount Pleasant climb. Our Category 2 riders currently coming into the foothills of that Mount Pleasant climb, and our Category 1 riders still around 3 kilometres away from that climb today. So this race is spread all out across this course today. So Tandingen and Koking, our leaders on the road, have gone over the top of Mount Pleasant and are descending the other side as Giuliano pushes on this Category 3 race and pushes these riders. As we start to see that pack stretch behind and the responses come from the other riders, so Cabanton and Lopez, Giuliano, these riders are pushing to not let the front of this Category 3 race go. The riders ahead of them on the track that they can see on this climb is the back of that Category 4 race. So they have riders to chase. So Guzman is 9 seconds away. Gallego a little further up this climb. So these Category 3 riders are about to start to work their way through the back of this Category 4 race. However, further down the road, Koking and Tandingen have indeed gone over the top of that climb and are now on the descent. They are on the descent off of Mount Pleasant. So from the top of Mount Pleasant to the bottom, the next time up is 13.9 kilometres of rolling terrain. They will go over the Mount Pleasant climb a second time and descend again before they take the run into the finish. But Koking is currently in the lead of this Category 4 race with Tandingen chasing hard. It's only 4 seconds back to Fernanda. So Fernanda worked exceptionally hard on that climb. Vink now at a minute back. So those 4 riders well clear of the rest of this Category 4 race field as Koking and Tandingen are pushing on to try and stay clear of Fernanda as she continues to work now that this descent is over and she's started to move onto this transition and back through Wollongong City. So the Category 1 race still together. This large group of Category 1 riders are yet to come on to this climb. They are just over 1.2 kilometres away before they hit the foothills of Mount Pleasant. So De Rocca is in here, Oliveri, Moreno, Ortiz, Gibraldo, Embring, Brogan, Bardeskaya is in here. Brogan is in here. These riders that we would expect, this is a large pack of riders and they are tapping away at a good pace, keeping the KPH high through Wollongong City. So if you are watching the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for the first time and you are thinking about joining the start line, head over to mywhoosh.com. Download the app if you haven't already and take a ride on the platform. When you are ready to join us, head over to the events page where you will find all the information that you need to join the Sunday Race Club. You will find a technical guide, a rule set, and a page of frequently asked questions, as well as information on equipment and verification to qualify for a verified ride, to qualify for the finals. So January this month, we have 4 qualifiers. It is a long month with 5 Sundays. So 4 qualifiers this month and then the final. 2 verified rides to qualify for that final at the end of the month. So plenty of opportunities for our riders. And if you're thinking about joining us, January is a great month to do something new. So Olsen, Fernanda, Reynard here in this Category 2 race on the steep sections of Mount Pleasant. So currently gradient just over 13% as these riders kick up this climb. Sanchez, Olsen, Pardini, Sinelli. These riders are very well matched in this Category 2 race, often changing and trading the top 3, 4, 5 positions between them. Who is on form this week and who is going to take this Category 2 win today? There is still a lot of racing to go. This is the first ascent of Mount Pleasant today. These riders will indeed go up Mount Pleasant again, and then from the second ascent of Mount Pleasant, they will drop off and back into the city for the finish line. So just down the road, we are seeing the Category 4 lead still staying with Koking and Tandingen, and Fernanda still chasing those two. They are 4 kilometres, 3. She says, my maths has got to work today, isn't it? They are 2 kilometres down the road. So Koking and Tandingen, Fernanda is doing the chasing. Koking and Tandingen now have got about 15 seconds on Fernanda in third and around 10 seconds back now to Vink in fourth. So it's looking like the likelihood will be that Fernanda and Vink may well come back together again. And if they could do that, working together as a two would indeed give them a better opportunity to bring back those riders who are out in front. But the time gaps are changing constantly as we see the terrain change constantly for these riders, and the terrain is changing constantly for our Category 1 riders as well, because they are now on the lower slopes of Mount Pleasant. So they will go up the smaller climb to start with, 7, 8, 9% for these riders on this smaller climb. They will drop down off the top of this and then hit the main climb of Mount Pleasant up to 17% gradient today. So still quite a large group here as these riders go over the first part of Mount Pleasant and drop down, with speeds now at 65 kph going down and dropping and utilising the momentum into the base of the next climb. We've got a couple of riders just dropped off the back, but Bauer is there, Ortiz is there, Brogan, Estrada, Biarhead, Oliveri. These riders are riding well and keeping an eye on the pace today as Brogan just pushes now. Brogan's pushing around 7% as she transitions from those flatlands into this climb, and we can just see some of the back of the Category 2 field ahead. So this Category 1 race now about to start picking up the back of the Category 2 race as they take the main part of this climb today. So no one pushing on particularly hard as this group move through this climb together. 17.8% the gradient at the moment as they push up this group. Embring just starting to have problems at the back of this group with the pace. So Embring just gapping off the back. Biarhead covering the back of the group with Brogan, Menzies and Bauer. So a large group tapping up this climb. Perhaps today, the first time up this climb is not where we are going to see action in this women's race, but I say that as we see a rider just stretch the front of this group. So rider just stretching the front of this group as we take this bend on the climb. This is the first time up Mount Pleasant, and it's still a large group as we see the riders, and in fact it's Manshandi who's pushing on. Manshandi is pushing this group and stretching it. She's kicking out 6.7 watts per kilo. Estrada is going with her, and Brogan is there as well. Not surprising to see Gemma Brogan, a rider, been absolutely on form over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So Manshandi pushing, Brogan in 2, Estrada in 3, Oliveri, last week's winner, in 4. So these riders now stretching this group as we see them come to a little platform before the final kicks of this climb. So our Category 1 riders today climbing the steep segments of Mount Pleasant. Our Category 2 riders just down the road 2.2 kilometers ahead of this leading category 1 race. They are on the descents and they are rolling fast now as they come to the base of that descent and start their transition through the Wollongong City route before they get to the base of Mount Pleasant for the second ascent of that category 4 climb today. So Brogan and Manshandi still working hard at the front of that group. Ortiz is there as well as Sanchez. These riders pushing on that category 1 on that climb today. They are moving through and moving up, and you can start to see them coming as a large group through this climb. No one is really attacking, and they are all at a steady state, riding a similar pace up this climb, this first ascent. We've seen 1 or 2 riders move off the back of this, but our main antagonists are still here. Bauer, Menzies, Moreno, Brogan, Quevedo. Gary Oni has been dropped from this group on this climb as we see the descent start and the steep descent start. And look at how that group goes through there as we got a little kicker coming up, which allows this back group just to push on a bit, and Brogan having to kick out 14 watts per kilo there to ensure she's not dropped on this descent, because she knows exactly what will happen as they go over the little brow of that hill there. The pace will suddenly accelerate and pick up as the momentum of the descent works against the riders at the back of the group. If you've got 1 or 2 seconds separating you, it really is a problem, and we're seeing Brogan really have to work. Menezes, Maria Marin getting caught out there as well. So Maria Marin and Estrada really having to work, and Karup Quevedo is there too, having to push really hard to come back to this group on the descent and not get caught out and distanced this early in the race. So this group are coming back together again. We've lost 1 or 2 riders who just missed the cut as they went over the top of that climb, and the descent started and the elastic stretched, and 1 or 2 of those category 1 riders missing out on that selection for that group as we drop in with our category 2 field and our category 3 field. In fact, Zabala is in there, just seeing that category 2 field go through that category 3 field and take that group through, and you can see them just in the distance there pushing on with Zabala now in the background. So Morgane Olsen, Alessia Lantari, Jenny Sanchez, Veronica Pardini, these riders in this group really now working hard. They are working their way through that category 3 field. And they can start to see some of those category 4 riders actually coming up in the distance as well. We are just about to see Grace Paolo as the rider in front of this group. So Olsen, Sanchez, Pardini, Sinelli, Lantari, Reynard. These category 2 riders, this leading group in this category 2 race, now moving through the back of this category 4 race. These category 4 race started 10 minutes in front of this category 2 race. So strong riding from this leading group in this category 2 race. 16.1 kilometers now travelled in this race, nearly half race distance. So back in with our category 1 riders on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see 2 kilometers, just under 2 kilometers now, actually separating the front of this category 1 race with our category 2 race today. So Bauer, Ortiz, Menzies, these are the riders we would expect to see in this category 1 race. But taking a little look in that pack, I think we've also got a category 2 rider in there today, and that may well be a tactic from one of our category 2 riders to enable that catch. In fact, there's a number of category 2 riders not far up the road now ahead of this group. Only 30 seconds now for this group to catch and make that juncture to that next category 2 race. In fact, the rider in that group is indeed Angie Parra, and we saw Angie Parra go off the start line of that Category 2 race really, really hard. And then we saw the riders snowball through and over, and Parra sit up. And now this is an interesting tactic because Parra is now sat in comfortably after having potentially taken an easier start to the race. She's now sat in comfortably with this lead Category 1 group. And if she can stay in here and make benefit of the draft, this group will take her up the road to indeed that lead Category 2 race group. It is an interesting tactic, and let's take a look and see how that works for Para rather than the tactics that the front group of the Category 2 race are indeed using. So Brogan pushing on here, Manshandi is there in this group, Oliveri is here as we just go over this little kicker and back down the other side. This group all staying together at the moment. No one looking like they are taking an attack off the front, but anybody's ride here because the number of strong riders in this group at the moment is really evident. We've got a wide range of riders who have finished in the top 5 in the last 2 weeks in this lead group of the Category 1 race today. So Parrot is in here as well. You can just see that green jersey at the back of this lead group. So Angie Parrot, one of our really strong riders in our Category 2 race. Angie Parrot deciding to take a toe off of this Category 1 group who have indeed caught her. And she's sitting in here making the use of the draft as Manshandi pushes on. Oliveri is there. Bauer is in here too. We are expecting at some point in stage a rider to push hard off the front, or will indeed this group of riders leave it until the second time we go up Mount Pleasant today? So that second ascent of Mount Pleasant today taking effect at 26.4 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race. It does not lead us to the finish line because from the top of Mount Pleasant, it is 6.2 kilometre run into the finish line. The riders will descend off of Mount Pleasant. They will transition through some flatlands of Wollongong until they take the short climb to the finish line. It is a short climb and it does indeed kick, and we have seen riders wait literally until that last section to kick for the finish as this Category 1 race pick up Octiza, another Category 2 rider who's just pushing on there to make sure she stays in that group as well. So they are now sweeping up the Category 2 back markers, and those back markers are just jumping in with the back of this group for as long as they possibly can to take the toe down the road. So if we take a look back down the road, or back up the road to our Category 3 and Category 4 race, we can start to see that Category 3 riders working their way through that Category 4 field. So Lynette Cabanata, Adriano Barco pushing on here. In fact, Barco looks to be our leading rider in that Category 3 race. So this group here, Barco, Cabanatan, Lopez, Ribaldo, these riders here are indeed our leading group in this Category 3 race, working their way now comfortably through the back of this Category 4 field. So it's looking like there are 5 Category 4 riders out now ahead of this lead group of Category 3 races. So we will be able to watch as this Category 3 group continues to progress through that Category 4 race field. Jojo Bauer is in here. Oliveri is in here. Brogan is in here. Quevedo is in here. Parra and Ortiz has indeed our Category 2 riders managed to stay on the back of that group. Take a look there. They are just watching this group. They are covering the power that needs to allow them to maintain in that draft. So you'll see on the top left-hand side of your screen that the watts numbers change. So 209 watts at the moment coming out from Oliveri as the number changes from green to black. So when the number is green, it indeed indicates that the rider is within the draft of this group and hence getting an easier effort than when the number is black and they are no longer in the draft. They are out on the front or out to the side of the group. So Bauer pushing on here. Brogan comfortably tapping along too. This group are moving comfortably at a strong pace, but no one is putting in a big effort at the moment as we come back round to what will be the finish next time round. So this is indeed a rehearsal run for the finish. The riders will come in across this bridge, they will transition into this climb, and the finish line will face them next time round. So it's a steep kick into the finish at 7% here, but this group this time round are all together. No one is attacking, no one is pushing on. This group are riding well and strongly together. So indeed, let's just take a look at that, shall we? Because this course shows it really well. So you can just see the finish line on that steep section next time round, and in the between now and that finish line is another attempt, another ascent of indeed that category 4 climb, Mount Pleasant. So our riders at the moment transitioning between those two climbs. They are transitioning between the two category 4 climbs. It is rolling terrain continually now. There is very little flat until that final run in, and the main section we would expect to see the attacks go is on that second time up that category 4 climb. So riders now into the latter half of this race, particularly the front of this race, but indeed these Category 1 leaders are indeed now transitioning into the latter stages of this race. The second half of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier race number 2 today on January the 8th. So this lead group in this Category 1 race continuing to pick off and go past the back markers of these fields, as we see now just 1.6 kilometers separating the front of the Category 2 race with the front of the Category 1 race. And this Category 2 field now really starting to pick off and come up onto the back of our Category 3 riders. It's not going to be very long till we see this lead group in the Category 2 start to catch the group from Category 3. So our Category 3 riders here, if they could turn their heads and take a look, they would see that Category 2 group coming. They are coming fast and furious behind them and about to make this catch. So this is indeed, though, the lead group in this Category 3 race, and it's still 2, 4, 6, 7 riders strong. So 7 riders in this Category 3 lead group. We've got Lopez, Barco, Giuliano, we've got Cabanatan, we've got Quintero, we've got these riders riding strongly, but you can see now that Category 2 race has come and started to go through that field. They are going right up and over the top of that Category 3 field, and we've got some frantic power coming down from some of our Category 3 riders. Barco's putting out 4.5 watts per kilo, trying to go with this Category 2 group. They are trying to hang on to these Category 2 riders who have snowballed through their group and over the top. And they've done it. They have picked up the pace and they have stayed with this Category 2 group. So we've now got a large group of riders on the road here, a mix of Category 2 riders with our leading Category 3 riders as well. So Reynard is in here, Sinelli is in here, Fernanda is in here, Sanchez is in here. Category 2 riders mixed with Giuliano, mixed with Barco, mixed with our Category 3 race leaders as well. So Category 2 and Category 3 race leaders now on the road together. They are on the road together and they are less than 2 kilometers ahead now of our Category 1 race field. And our Category 1 race field just pushing on through Wollongong City. They've got a couple of Category 2 riders that they've picked up. in there with them as well. But this group's still all together as they start to see other riders now coming towards them. And those other riders that they are coming towards are the back of our category 3 and category 4 race fields. So this group will also now start to pick up other riders, and the incentive to keep pushing on and the incentive to overtake the back markers of those other race fields will indeed drive them on and probably speed up the catch to category 2. So Montoya in this group, Alzate in this group. This group of 3 category 2 riders about to get caught here. As we start to move through, Cordero is in here as well. So Cordero, Montoya, Alzate about to get caught from this group behind, and it's going to be interesting to see, will they play the same tactic as we've seen with the other category 2 real riders? Will they swell the ranks of this category 1 lead group, or will this group just go straight through and past? So as we see this category 1 group come up to catch this category 2 group behind, they are moving through, and with power starts to go down from Montoya, the category 2 rider being caught. Cordero's doing the same, 4.5 watts per kilo. They want to stay with this group. They really want to jump in and catch a ride with the rest of this group and allow them to move them forward in this race field today. As Estrada pushes on at the front, Bauer is going with her. So Bauer and Estrada really pushing the pace as they go past those category riders, and the riders just sticking in, but we're starting to see a stretch here as Bauer pushes on again. So Bauer, Manshandi, Estrada at the front of this pack as the rest of the pack now come back together again. We've got 1 or 2 riders just off the back there, and I'm thinking that by the look of it, that is indeed some of our category 2 riders. So category 2 riders now, some of them being able to make the juncture and stay in this group, some of them now being distanced off the back. So this is going to affect what happens in this category 2 race. It's looking like Bauer at the front, Ortiz, Estrada, Manshandi, Oliveri, Quevedo. We've got Alzate from category 2 sat in this group. We've got Cordero sat in this group. These 2 riders have made this juncture, and they are riding and taking a tow from this group as we start to see a couple of other category 2 riders just push hard and get back onto this group. Montoya has made it as well. So our category 2 riders just staying with the pace as the pace backs off of this category 1 pack as we start to see 2 category 4 riders get caught and go out the other side. So this large pack on the right hand side of your screen is indeed our category 2 leaders and our category 3 leaders. Our category 2 lead pack caught that lead pack in that category 3 race, and the pace has come off it a little at the moment. Taking a look at the pace here, we're looking at around 2.6 to 3 watts per kilo. So the pace has come off that category 2 race at the moment and is allowing our lead riders in the category 3 competition to make up and swell that pack. And in fact, we can just see there another rider in the distance about to be overtaken here, and that is a category 4 rider in that red jersey. So these riders now moving through these rolling lands before they get to the next ascent of Mount Pleasant. Currently, these riders are at 24.5 kilometers. 24.5 kilometers. 26.4 kilometers is when that next climb of Mount Pleasant comes. So a little bit of a transition, and it is a majoritively downhill run for these riders now into that next climb. And we can see that as this pace is picking up quite high. So the pace is around 40 kilometers an hour at the moment. And we're just seeing 1 or 2 riders get stretched off the back of this group as a little bit more pace goes on at the front. So Reynard Sanchez currently sitting at 4.3 watts per kilo. So just a little bit of a push on at pace at the moment at the front of that group. Just put 1 or 2 riders, category 3 riders, in challenge at the back, and we've seen 1 or 2 drop off as our category 2 riders push on. So around 1.6 kilometres now separating our Category 1 lead pack and our Category 2 and 3 lead pack on this race course today. So Bauer at the front of this group here with Estrada and Menzies on the left-hand side of your screen. We've still got Fernanda and a couple of other of these Category 2 riders who managed to stay in this group, and they are being towed back by this Category 1 pack to our lead pack on the road of Category 2 and Category 3 riders. So Estrada, Oliveri, Menzies, Bauer, Ortiz, Oliveri, these riders pushing on here at the front of this Category 1 race field today. As we go back to take a look at our leading rider on the road today, in fact, it is indeed Koking, and Koking has ridden clear now of Tandingen, Vink and Fernanda, our 4 lead riders in that Category 4 race. So Koking now on the second ascent of Mount Pleasant, and in fact she is on the steepest section, so the second part of that climb, currently 17.1% under Koking's wheels. And if I'm looking at this right, she's absolutely put 2 minutes now into Tandingen, 7 minutes back to Fernanda and Vink. So Fernanda and Vink well and truly out of the 1-2 now as Koking pushes on and continues to climb at a strong rate. She's climbing at 3.5 watts per kilo here with a very low cadence of around 42. And in fact, I think we saw that from her last week as well. So a very power-based climbing tactic from Koking there, who is our lead rider on the road at the moment. So we are watching this lead group in this Category 1 race push on into the foothills of Mount Pleasant. They have a small rolling section of road still to ride before they get into the base of that climb for the second time, as we see Bauer go to the front but not putting down big power, just rolling through and taking her turn on the front there. And then Moreno, Estrada, Oliveri all taking their turn and coming through to the front in this group, which is rolling through at the moment at a very steady pace. So Bauer's heart rate at the moment comfortably sat at around 159. A lot of room for manoeuvre there for Bauer and other riders in this group. We have not seen the burners lit yet in this Category 1 race. So a comfortable pace for this lead group at the moment in our Category 1 race. It's comfortable enough for a number of our Category 2 riders to be sat in that group and benefiting from the draft and the tow to the lead group of Category 2 racers down the road. They are around 1.5 kilometres in front of this group that we see on our screens at the moment. But there is no real action coming from this group and no real need or drive from anybody to attack this group and to push this pace. So this pace is comfortable and it is allowing those Category 2 riders the benefit of it. So a little bit further behind, we're seeing the chase group in this Category 1 race. The chase group in this Category 1 race has got the likes of Bardskaya in here, Bjarhead in here, Embring's in here. Maria Marin is in here as well. Now, Marin didn't make the junction to that lead group, and that split over the top of that climb onto the descent of Mount Pleasant because Marin was second only 2 weeks ago in our December final. So Maria Marin, one of our riders, getting caught out there, and very difficult in terms of that transition of speed and that transition of pace and momentum on the brow of that climb as they drop over the other side. Now, at the front of this Category 1 race, they are just about, they're around 100 meters off of the base of Mount Pleasant as they start to take that climb. And Brogan pushing now with the other group of riders as we start to see this Category 1 race hot up coming into this climb for the second time today. So Brogan, Bauer, Estrates, these riders really starting to move in this race. We are seeing Menzies in here, Ortiz in here. really moving this race up and through, and really going on a push. So this category 1 push has now seen those category 2 riders just drop out of that group. So the category 2 riders dropping out of the group as we're starting to see the stretch on that category 1 group as Moreno, Bauer, Ortiz push on. Brogan is pushing on too. We're seeing Estrada in there as well at around 7 watts per kilo. So they don't want to lift the pace too high, but they really don't want to take all these riders over the top of this climb on the run into the finish today. So our category 1 riders now having dropped our category 2 riders on this Mount Pleasant climb. They are climbing the first section of this climb, and if we drop up the road a little further, we are starting to see that category 2 field catch Ella Vink here, who is currently 4th in that category 4 race. And indeed, Luisa Fernanda has also been caught. So 3 and 4 in our category 4 race now together, Fernanda and Vink. They are on the main climb of Mount Pleasant for the second time. And Fernanda just pushing on a little bit there in 3rd place in that category 4 race. Ella Vink just behind, still got her in her sights as Fernanda is pushing at 2.7 watts per kilo. Vink keeping the pace at around 2.2, 2.5, trying not to let Fernanda get too much of a distance, but currently we are watching 3rd and 4th in that category 4 race. So dropping down off of the first part of that climb and rolling into the second is indeed our front category 1 pack. Moreno is at the front here with Bauer, with Manshandi. These riders are strong and they are all capable of taking this win today. They have dropped the category 2 riders that took the toe into the base of this climb, and they are continuing to pick up and pick off the back markers from the other race fields. So this group now coming up on Jackie Giuliano of our category 3 race field and going straight past her like an express train. So this group now made up of Manshandi, Estrada, Quevedo, Ortiz, Bauer, Brogan, pushing on these steep sections of this climb now as the climb starts to move and the gradient starts to kick. We're at 13% at the moment as they move around this climb on this left-hand bend. So 27.7 kilometres now of this 35-kilometre course now under the wheels as this group move onto these segments of this climb and start to move to the top of Mount Pleasant for the second time today. Further down the road, in fact, just shy of 3 kilometres down the road is Koking. Koking is indeed at the front of this race. Koking continuing to push hard and continuing to ride a big solo effort. And in fact, we saw a big solo effort off of her as well last week. Tandingen chasing for second place, but Koking really put the distance now into Tandingen and is absolutely riding away with this category 4 win today. So there are now 2.8 kilometres separating the front of this category 1 race with the front of the race field on the road today, which is currently led by Koking, our lead in the category 4 competition. Brogan is pushing on here at the front of this group. Manshandi and Menzies and Bauer are following. They are pushing on and moving through the back markers of this category 3 race field. They will shortly be coming up to Vink and Fernanda, currently 3rd and 4th in that category 4 race. You can see the mixed colours on the top right-hand corner of your screen as this category 1 race overtake and work their way through the fields of category 3 and category 4 on this climb today. There are yellow jerseys, there are red jerseys, there are green and blue. They are all mixed together as this lead category 1 group continues to move up this climb and continues to pick up the back markers from the earlier race starts. So as our lead Category 1 riders make their way up and over the top of Mount Pleasant for the final time, we can see a little bit further down the road, around 1.5 kilometres down the road, that lead in that Category 2 race. And that pack is continuing to move. They have cleared Mount Pleasant. They are off the descent. They are now into the Wollongong City route, and they will roll into that towards the final. It was 6.2 kilometres from the top of Mount Pleasant to that finish line. They are in the latter stages of this race today. So Manshandy, Ortiz, Moreno, Brogan, Bauer, Menzies, they are all in this lead group. And we've got one or two riders who of Category 4 and Category 3 who are trying hard to stick with them on this descent. They've been caught on the climb and they've been caught on the descent, and it's much easier to stay in that pack on the descent than it is on the climb, the pace of these Category 1 riders. And Fernanda has managed to do that, and so has one of our Category 3 riders. In fact, I think that's Ribaldo who has done that. In fact, it is Lorenzo Ribaldo has managed to stay in that group on this descent, and it will only help in terms of tow them a little further up that racetrack and a little further up that field today. So it's looking like Estrada there at the back. In fact, Estrada has got caught out over the top of that climb this time. And we saw that happen last time with indeed Maria Marin. But Estrada here has been caught out and is going to need to push on hard if she wants to close and get back onto that group and continue to work for that finish today. The gap is around 3 seconds, 4 seconds, but that's a pack, and that pack is moving well and moving strongly. So if Estrada wants to close that down, she needs to continue to kick and continue to work. And she is. She's putting out 4.5, 5.5, sometimes 6 watts per kilo at the moment to try and close that gap, but it's still hanging out at around 5 seconds. So Estrada being caught out now as this lead group has gone up and over the Mount Pleasant Category 4 climb for the last time today. This race for this lead Category 1 group is now into the last 4.5 kilometres. So 4.5 kilometres still to race now for this Category 1 lead group. Down the road, the leader on the road, Mary Joyce Coking. Mary Joyce Coking, our lead rider in that Category 4 race, still out front. She is indeed 2.5 kilometres out front of that lead group in that Category 1 race. 1.8 kilometres to go for Coking to that finish line today as Moreno kicks off the front of this group. Moreno has kicked off the front of the Category 1 group, but not maintained and continued it as Brogan closes the gap with Bauer. So Brogan and Bauer bring that group back, and that group have been brought back now. We have lost that Category 3 and Category 4 rider who had taken that tow on the descent, and that group is now together. So the Category 2 race lead, Pardini, Olsen, Sinelli, Lantari, Reynard. We are seeing that group, including Cerner as well. Cerner is in there too. Now, this group is a strong group of Category 2 riders. They've got 2 Category 4 riders ahead of them. And we are starting to see them close that gap. That should indeed be Tandingen that they are seeing in their sights. So Tandingen, our second place Category 2 rider, about to be caught by the lead group of Category 2 green jersey riders. So Lantari goes past Tandingen, Olsen, Cerner, Pardini, Reynard go past Tandingen. Now, will Tandingen try and sit in this group and take a little bit of tow from them, or will she just let them go straight past? They are not pushing a huge pace. They're currently sitting at around 2.3 watts per kilo. Tandingen should indeed be able to make the benefit of that. As we drop back in with 3 kilometres to go in our Category 1 race, Brogan has gone on the attack. Moreno is pushing and chasing. Menendez is there as well, but Brogan and Moreno have gone clear. They're only 2 seconds clear at the moment, but they have utilised the changing gradient. And Moreno and Brogan continues to push. She's pushing at 6.6 watts per kilo. She wants this to be the move, and she wants this to be the move that works and sticks. But as she takes this right-hand corner, Brogan is pushing hard. Moreno is in 2. Bauer is pushing nearly 7 watts per kilo behind, trying to bring them back as Coking has only got 600 meters to go until the finish line. Can Coking stay out? In fact, Coking, I think, is going to stay out and take the victory on the road today. So Coking is looking like she is going to come in for the win in that Category 4 race. Can she stay clear of that chasing Category 2 pack and actually take the win on the road today? So Brogan is pushing hard in our Category 1 race. She's pushed hard and she's tried to break that group. It's a big group and they are not far behind. They are continuing to fire attack after attack down the road to try and chase her. Moreno and Bauer are the ones doing the chasing at the moment, but Brogan is working so hard for that win today. The group are coming back together again as Coking's got 300 meters to go. Our Category 4 race winner at the moment today, our Category 4 race leader. 250 meters to go until the finish line of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier number 2. So Coking with 200 meters to go. She can see that finish line ahead of her. She has managed to stay clear. She put in an early attack and absolutely put the gauntlet down for everybody today. She said she was going early. She went early, and this is her race finish. So Mary Joyce Coking comes over the line for the win in the Category 4 race, and she stays clear of all our racers behind her today. What a solo ride from Coking today. Absolutely adamant she was winning Category 4. So we drop back in with Manshandi and this lead group of Category 1 riders. That's attack from Brogan did not stick. They have all come back together again. We've got Bauer, Brogan, Manshandi, Moreno. These riders are riding really well and strongly together. But on the right-hand side of your screen, we have got our Category 2 race group leaders at the moment, and they have 650 meters to go until the finish. And this catch is not going to be made today. We are not going to see our Category 1 race leaders catch and go past our Category 2 race leaders. Our Category 2 are going to come in before our Category 1 riders. So 500 meters to go for this Category 2 group today, and it is a big group, and there are only 5 prizes today, and there are more than 5 riders on this road as Lanteri picks up Cerner in 2, Reynard in 3, Pardini is there, Sanchez is there too. Lantari pushes 11 watts per kilo. Sinelli has hit 13. Sinelli has gone over the top. Sinelli wants this win. She's pushed hard. Sinelli is pushing hard. That's a massive sprint from Sinelli. But has she gone too early? Lantari is there with Reynard and Olsen. But Sinelli is adamant she's having it. 11 watts per kilo behind from Reynard. But Sinelli wants this win. And Sinelli is going to cross this line and take the Category 2 win with Reynard, I think, in second place. But wow, what a sprint from those Category 2 women. So Sinelli taking that from Reynard, from Olsen, from Cerner and from Sanchez as our Category 1 racers come into the finish line now. They've got 300 meters to go. Quevedo is there, Menzies is there, Brogan is kicking, and Brogan is kicking hard. She's desperate for a win, but Quevedo is there. This is going to be an up sprint for this finish line. Brogan is kicking at 2.1. Moreno is going as well, and Manshandi. Bauer is out front with Moreno as well. Ortiz is there too, and this is going to be a Category 1 win for Karup Quevedo today. Wow, what a sprint in Category 1 and Category 2. So Quevedo taking the win from Moreno in Category 1, from Jojo Bauer, from Maria Ortiz, from Jarrah Brogan. Manshandi in 6th, Menezes in 7th. Then our Category 2 winners, Sinelli coming through for 8th, Reynard in 9th, Olsen in 10th. To round out that top 10, now you will find indeed all of our results from Category 1, Category 2, Category 3 and Category 4 on the MyWhoosh results page on their website. So take a look. The results will be finalised over there today. But what a ride and what a sprint from Karrup Quevedo, Liliana Moreno, Jojo Bauer, Maria Ortiz, Gemma Brogan, Manshandi Menzies, and then, of course, that sprint in that Category 2 race, Sinelli taking that from Reynard from Olsen. It's been fast and it's been furious racing, particularly those finishes today from our women on the Race 2 qualifier of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club on January the 8th, 2023. It's been an absolute pleasure putting words to the action today. So from me, Emma Martin, and all the team at MyWhoosh, stay safe and enjoy your riding. See you again soon.